Good kill, good kill. Hey, good kill.
Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today I'd like to take a little bit of time and have a discussion regarding DCS and World War II. As you watch this video, if you agree or disagree with anything being said, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. I know a lot of you think that I love jets and I don't really care about World War II stuff, and that's why there isn't a lot of that style of content on the channel. But the truth is, it couldn't be further from that. I do love World War II era aviation, and I love the stories about dogfights back from the Western Front to the Pacific and even over Malta, North Africa, the Eastern Front, you name it, I love it. So when I heard that ED was going to be focusing more on World War II stuff in the future, I was very optimistic. And don't get me wrong, this isn't a video I'm making to criticize ED's work on the World War II side of the sim. I think it's clear to anyone who's paying attention that they are actually working hard on getting the World War II theater up to a level that would attract more players. That's obvious from the relatively recent release of the P-47 Thunderbolt and the upcoming release of the Mosquito. ED has also recently added the channel map on top of Normandy and released many new World War II assets in the form of ground vehicles, radar stations, and things of that nature. So I want to be clear. I realize how much attention ED is putting on World War II, and I think they're doing a great job. But as a consumer of this sim, there are some things that are sorely missing from me and some pretty glaring issues. For example, there are some very iconic aircraft that are missing from the sim. And I don't mean modules for you and me to fly. I mean assets that should be there for any basic World War II simulator. For example, the HE-111 or the Stuka. Both of these aircraft were very prevalent on the Western Front, a front that we have two maps for, and also many of the Allied aircraft that were popular at that time to go with the two maps that we have. Yet, there are no HE-111s or Stukas in the sim, even at an AI level. I find myself flying over Normandy in my P-51 or my Spitfire with no HE-111s to engage, no Stukas dive bombing friendly troops, no BF-110s. These aircraft are nowhere to be seen, even as AI assets. The only bomber attack plane we have currently in DCS is the Junkers 88 torpedo bomber. We need more aircraft in DCS World War II to make it interesting, even if they're simply AI controlled aircraft. Now again, let me be clear. ED has a lot on their plate when it comes to getting World War II to a good place. What I'm asking for is a pretty tall order, and I understand that, especially for a company like ED who doesn't wish to release half-assed assets. This is clear as they continually attempt to better what already exists in the sim. For example, their new propeller technology, which is actually very cool, and obviously it took a lot of work to get it where it is. Not to mention something as simple yet very impactful, like the new clouds we got with DCS 2.7. All of these things are huge for the simulator. ED is clearly not sitting around twiddling their thumbs. They are indeed making efforts to improve the sim. But again, we return to things that are missing from DCS World War II. I personally would love to see a Pacific theater for DCS, with Mitsubishi Zeros, Corsairs, Hellcats, Iwo Midway. How about some Eastern Front maps? Maybe Stalingrad. These are some of the most iconic theaters of World War II, but are non-existent in DCS. Again, we don't even have AI Zeros to fight. And let's not forget about the Russian front. The Russians were no small players in World War II, yet we have no Yaks, no LA-5s, no IL-2s. Again, not even AI assets for these aircraft. How about some of the missing Allied aircraft? Typhoons, Hurricanes, the B-25. What about the iconic Lancaster? It's very hard to make fun World War II missions and scenarios when even some of the most basic and most popular aircraft of that time are missing. All of this being said, I'm personally very happy with the attention ED has been giving the World War II aircraft that we do have in the sim. For example, the damage model of aircraft is always being improved, and it's very nice to see even the ground vehicles are fairly detailed and pretty easy on the the eyes. And like I said, I'm very happy with the damage model and the current ground assets that we have. I'd like to see some more attention being placed on bringing in some AI assets, and the reason I keep saying AI is that I would obviously love to have a Mitsubishi Zero in the sim for us to fly, but development of these aircraft, the way that ED likes to do it at a study level simulation level, takes a long time. I'd love to reach that level one day in the future, but right now I'd just be happy with some AI air assets to spice things up. As previously mentioned, I'd also love to see some new maps that aren't centered around the Western Front, but let's be realistic with our expectations. Maps are very difficult to make, and that kind of stuff takes a lot more time. I really like the Normandy map, for example, but I guess what I'm wondering is, why did we make the Channel map? It's a beautiful map, don't get me wrong, definitely a step up from Normandy. But why wasn't all of that effort and talent put towards making a map from another theater? And to be fair, I kind of know why. We don't really have any planes that fly over other theaters. For example, if ED took that time and effort and made an Iwo Jima map instead of the Channel, that would have been pretty cool, right? But here we are, we've circled back to the initial problem. We have no Zeros, no Hellcats, no Corsairs. So it seems like we're at a bit of an impasse here. We need planes to make maps, but we can't make planes because we don't have the maps that fit their theater of service. I know I'm sounding a little ungrateful for the Channel map right now. Like I said, it's great and I appreciate it. All I'm saying is we already had a Western theater map. But again, I understand why they made it. ED wanted to give us somewhere a little nicer to fly our currently available aircraft, and I think they executed that wonderfully. The Channel is a stunning map. I just think if ED is going to step up and try to take on the other World War II simulators available out there, it needs to increase the amount of aircraft available, even at an AI level, and offer new maps and theaters of conflict to keep people interested. As we know, the Mosquito is coming out relatively soon. The Corsair is being worked on by Leatherneck Simulations. Hopefully there's a Zero under development in secret out there that we don't know about. So once they get that released, they get all these things released, we may be lucky enough to get some sort of Pacific theater. At the end of the day, I don't know. This is all speculation. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are. What do you think is lacking from DCS in World War II, and what would you like to see? Please keep in mind, this is not intended to be a bashing session on ED and their devs. They're doing great work over there, and I'm really happy with the effort they're putting into everything they're releasing. I really think ED has something special going with the World War II experience. There's so much potential to be had. Possibly one of the greatest World War II aviation experiences that's ever been available. We just need a little more expansion to really reach out and touch the true potential of DCS in World War II.